Yeah, welcome back to Dear Oakland. Today we have with us Flygerian Jeff. He's an event creator, producer, and a nationally renowned DJ. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Flygerian Jeff. I curate events, produce events, and I also happen to DJ them as well. I live in Oakland, California, born and raised, and I am a Nigerian descendant as well.
Nice.
So how did you first get started as a DJ, and what drew you to the art form?
I got started as a DJ because I needed a DJ. I oftentimes would have events where I would have different DJs, and based on DJs like availability and availability pretty much, it started to be kind of too much of a hassle. I did have a general, what's the word? A general, I don't know. I had like a format to the party that I felt like going between so many different DJs, it would also get lost in like translation. So because I knew how I wanted my party to sound, I took it upon myself to kind of like teach myself little by little how to like DJ.
So more so, you were trying to create a particular vibe or cultivate a particular feeling,
Mm-hmm.
and in order to achieve what you wanted, you felt like you had to take it upon yourself.
Because I was already kind of familiar with some of the songs and some of the music. I was also transitioning. I'm predominantly beforehand a hip hop event producer. Like I like to, go to hip hop events at the time, and I was more into hip hop. But as Afrobeats kind of like gained more of a mainstream popularity, a lot more started coming on my table as far as like different tunes and different songs. So making that transition at the time was a little easier because I was already familiar with, broken
The
English
music and the
and the
artist.
culture and things like that. Yeah.
How long ago did you start DJing?
Man, not long ago, really. I'd say like maybe 2018.
That's a good little minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so would you say now you're primary, like, would you consider yourself more of like an Afrobeat type of DJ?
That's honestly a very good question. To be honest, I definitely think people have amnesia when it comes to how they want to categorize you. The minute you're born, you're always going to be put into a box. So it's up to you as an individual to manipulate that box and place yourself where you want to place yourself.
Yeah.
Whether you want to like grow your hair long and then cut it the minute someone tries to box you in, whether you want to like make a transition in careers and change that, make a different interest in music and change that. So I think like, if you knew me previous leading up to 2017, you just knew hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
I was associated with different brands that are locally known, like Trap Art, Trap Soul, all of these other. This bug loves me. I'm not, this really loves me. But anyway, so everyone would always associate me with hip hop. So after that and making that transition to Afro beats and people like realizing that I do have a appeal to that, it just became like, oh, he's just an Afrobeat guy. I should only expect Afro, but I'm highly into both.
Yeah. Can we talk about how you came up with your name as well, like Flygerian Jeff?
Oh, all right. So good question. So, man, what year was it? It was like 2008.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend. Well, she's still my friend, but she lives in Dallas now. Her name is Stanisha. And she would always talk about the different shoes I'd wear and this. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I was taking classes at like Laney College in Oakland. And she would always be like, oh, here comes Jeff the Nigerian, a.k.a. Flygerian Jeff. And she would always call me Flygerian Jeff. And that became our little like inside joke amongst me and my colleagues at the time. And then when everyone started getting on the Twitter, I didn't make my Twitter. I didn't make Twitter. Mind you, again, we're still talking about 2008, 2009. They made the Twitter for me, and they named it Flygerian Jeff. Sent it to me, and I logged into it, and I was Flygerian Jeff. Then Instagram was created 2010. I just kept that the same.
It stuck.
It wasn't for DJing though.
Yeah.
It was just my.
That's who you were.
My thing, yeah.
Your alter ego.
I don't know about it being an ego.
No. Okay. So just to transition from there, so like, you know, we look at Houston, Miami, New York, LA, all these places as like a place to party at, right? And so like you primarily, this is your home base. I know you also visit other cities, but like, you know, Oakland has all this like negative PR. So how do you think that affects the local music and art scene, and even, you know, something for like a personal experience for yourself?
I think it affects it as far as like tourist attraction, like how many people come in here for the hell of it.
Yeah,
decreases. It definitely doesn't have the appeal or the reputation right now as like one of those go-to cities when it comes to entertainment. But people still come here for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
Especially for like economics. Like if you're in medicine, you will get paid a lot more if you come this way. If you're in tech, you will have a lot more opportunities if you come this way. So a lot of the people that do come here are not the extroverted party people.
Right.
Based on the industry that's prevalent.
Yeah, that's true.
So it works on itself, I think.
So like if you were to compare the other cities you've DJed at and then your home base, like how are they different?
Oh man, very different. And this is meaning like what I like about just, you know, being black or African or just anything in the person of color sector is every area has a different vibe. Like black people are not the same everywhere. How we respond to music is not the same everywhere. You know what I mean? Like LA Nigerian is a lot different than San Francisco, Oakland, Bay Area Nigerian. And that Nigerian is a lot different than a Houston, Texas or a Dallas, Texas Nigerian. And a Nigerian in Atlanta is different between that one. And a New York Nigerian is completely different than all of those. So I would say, like, when it comes to how the music is received and how that goes, I would say if you want to get the quickest answer is kind of pay attention to like the prevalent industry in the area and think about what kind of person would live there,
right? And
what kind of personality that ties to. So let's make it simple, right? And let's just keep it in California, right? You have Bay Area, and we all know now it's tech.
Tech, yeah.
And to be a tech person, a lot of times the stereotype, sitting in front of a computer, not really the most extroverted person, seen but not heard.
Yeah.
Maybe he's cracking a code. Maybe he's doing some security, but you're not seeing them. You don't hear them.
Yeah.
You just get an email, right? Go to LA. Person might be a photographer.
Right.
Person might want to be a model. Want to be an actor or actress.
Yeah.
Person might want to be in an extroverted space to really grow. The person going to be outside.
Yep.
So you go to a party out there, you might walk around with a camera. They'll get in the camera.
Right.
You might go and take pictures. They might pose. They come in dressed to be seen.
Right.
Everything about them is very peacock. Come here, business casual, low colors. They might even DM you, say, take that picture down, please. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Went to school 12 years. Maybe got a master's to not have their life be a digital footprint.
Right.
You know, they highly understand that nothing on the internet goes away. You know what I mean? You would have thought they're going to run for president 10 years from now.
Right.
So it's a different kind of. Now, if you go to LA, you don't put someone in the picture, and they actually get to know you as a photographer. Like, they might DM you like, "Do you have something against me? You took pictures of me. Where are the pictures?"
Yeah. Oh wow, I've never heard that. You know what I mean? Or even have to think about that.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. It's kind of toxic.
Yeah.
Next question would be.
Sorry.
Oh, this is good. What role does Oakland's music and cultural scene play in shaping your style as a DJ?
Oakland's music scene plays. Okay, that's a good question. So if I were to DJ in Atlanta and I was gonna play Afrobeat music, I can go a lot deeper and play more songs that you would hear in actual like Lagos, Nigeria, and it wouldn't really stop the dance floor.
Okay.
And the pace would be a lot different.
Mhm.
I can play a lot faster. I can play songs that might be more Yoruba language speaking dominant or Igbo speaking dominant, and it would not really stop anything. Now here, on the other hand, because the Bay Area is a transplant dominated city now, as far as the people who have the disposable income to kind of go out, you get more of a Pac crowd mixed with a African crowd. So what happens with that is that you kind of have to keep things light and slow.
Wait. I have to interject really quickly.
Yes.
Because when you said Pac,
Yes.
it took me a whole moment to process. I'm like, Tupac?
Oh,
People
right.
People
People
I
of color.
thought you were talking about Tupac.
POC.
I
Maybe because I said it sounded like Pac, but I meant like or Pac. Yeah.
No,
Pac.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. But
Yeah.
it's
For the viewers, when I say Pac, I mean people of color.
I'm glad
So
you
that
caught
means
that. I'm thinking
Filipino. That means Latino,
Non-white.
Latinx, non-white, yeah, or even like more white than normal in most places. Because when you get to other places, as you get out of here, it gets more chocolate. You get off the airplane, you don't see that many Filipinos working at the airport. You might see more Eritreans, or you might see more Africans, or you might see more Black people. You guys get the gist. You guys travel. So I would have to slow it down, or you'll hear more of a commercial sound.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you might lose the crowd if you get too deep. Here, if you might lose a crowd if you get too fast or get too deep. And they will kind of stop dancing and kind of like assess. But when people stop dancing in the Bay Area, it should be a short period of time. You either are getting to the point or you're losing them completely.
Yeah.
When they stop dancing in Atlanta, Houston, or maybe even like New York, if it's a hookah lounge, because there's hookah, there's other things to entertain you. That doesn't necessarily mean you're doing a bad job. You know what I'm saying? So I would say that because there is more of a there's more of a diverse crowd here, you kind of have to keep things light and keep things at a pace that is digestible.
Yeah.
Because here in California, you have to keep it very digestible. You got to play mainstream, Burna Boy, you know, New Wiz, Thames, Ira Star will get you up there, you know, or old school Afrobeats music, not old school, but like the Afrobeat music that is more like 2018, 19 dominant at a pace. Sorry.
So would you say, like, so obviously, you know, we are in a diverse area, so like you have everyone attending your parties, but then what about like strictly Africans? Like, do you feel like they're waiting for you to, like, you know, play that one John that like my dad knows or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, do you feel like, do you see that as well?
Occasionally. Sometimes you might get a crowd that, because there's diversity, it's diversity here in the African diaspora, right?
Yeah.
Like here, it's more Eritrean, Ethiopian dominant.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like the most spoken language, the most spoken language in an African sense here would probably be Amharic, right?
Okay.
Compared to the South, where it might be Nigerians might hold that mantle. You know what I mean? But then you go to New York, it'll be more Caribbean energy. Or you go to Miami, it'll be more Haitian energy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You go to Miami and you go too deep with Afrobeats, they'll stop, just like they would kind of out here.
Yeah.
But that crowd is dark skinned. That crowd is black. That crowd is very Haitian. But there's a cultural disconnect sometimes.
Yeah.
But if you keep it mainstream for them, or you play like I'm a piano, they'll kind of like.
Right.
But if you switch it up and play some compas, some zouk, then you really got a party because they're still playing in that same kind of pace,
Yeah.
but it has like more of a appeal because they're
that.
speaking on a French tip. So I mean, question: what brought me to that? What got me on that again?
Repeat your question.
What was the question again?
I'm trying to think what I asked.
The question is.
Because I can go on tangents.
The question is, how do you see the local music scene contributing to changing perceptions about Oakland?
Oh, you mean the original question?
There was a sub question though.
So just saying, like, because you know you have both. You have the Africans obviously there, but then you have the.
Got it.
So
that's what it was.
Like, are they waiting for you to drop something old school?
Got it. You'll get a crowd sometimes where there'll be a lot more Ugandans tonight, or a lot more Kenyans tonight, and they might be waiting for not really like the song, but Kenyan music as well. Right. Or waiting for like, you know, Eritreans, Ethiopians, they're more into like hip hop here when they're amongst others. But if there's like a large concentration of them, then they'll really love it if you play something that's an Ethiopian sound or something that's an Eritrean sound. So it pretty much is like for the actual Africans that are in the crowd, they know they're gonna get the Afro beats that's more on the Nigerian tip. I do feel like the Ghanaians have started making more of a demand for their sound as well now. But to answer your question, it depends on the concentration of population.
So next question is, how do you see the local music scene contributing to changing perceptions about Oakland? Player Holiday, just 25, just came out with Pilo, G-Eazy, all these guys. But I don't think they did. Actually, I shouldn't say that.
I mean, I think, and this is really just like my opinion on from my own personal experience and observation. Everyone would have their own different like relative opinion and observation based on their experience in Oakland. But for me, I think because Oakland it's very easy in hip hop to get into like the gun violence, like killer music. I call it like killer music, where you know, I wouldn't say like exactly trap, but it can be just like more about gang life, you know, whatever. When it comes to like the mainstream Bay Area music, mainstream, not the one that we locally know. It's more so trying to stay more on the party tip, and that's California's MO anyway. Stay more on like the party tip and make songs that aren't really about flexing how tough you are. But the misconception that brings sometimes is that the Bay Area is not tough, and it brings the conception that we just go dumb, turning up, got locks, wearing bright ass colors, not really tripping off blue or red on like a LA gang tip, and we don't really take life seriously, and we're a bunch of goofballs. That is the perception, the stereotype. When people hear you from Oakland, I was at Afrotech. People, when I say I was from Oakland, they're just, I know, tell me when to go. The beat is going off in their head. You know what I mean? And I'm like, man, we are not like that. Or they just say that we're heavily on the LGBTQ tip. And a lot of times people come out here and they get that wrong, and they come here and they see like, you know, we're highly onto like we're highly on the thrift store fashion tip. You know what I mean? We're heavy on, you know, being yourself. You know what I mean? Here, less is more. You know what I mean? LA.
Kind of pretentious.
I used to live in LA. It's a different beast.
You know, here people ask you, what do you do? Even if they're interested in you, like they ask you, what do you do all the time? Because people aren't from here. You know, that's what happens when someone's not from here and they're trying to figure it out. They constantly want to know who they're around, but it didn't used to be like that back in the day. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's true.
Yeah, so I'd say like the scene, the only problem that I say is there's a little bit of stagnation. We have deviated so much from the hyphy movement that people don't want to let go of that category for the Bay Area. And because a lot of people, and because it's actually a culture associated with it, or a new culture, or a watered down culture from, you know, the Mac Dre days, you know, the Thizzler and all this other kind of things that really, really made sense at that time, we have not really done a good job of creating that persona to be different. So when you listen to the new Kendrick Lamar song and you look at that music video and you see people going dumb, and then you walk down the street and you're like, where are they? That's because they're not here.
Yeah.
That's because they only come out like no different than if you invite Spider-Man to your little 7-year-old's birthday. Spider-Man's not walking down the street outside, but Spider-Man comes, you know what I mean? And I'm not calling them clowns because they embody like a true systematic oppressive expression of where that comes, because the hyphy movement comes from such a deep place that you had to been there to really explain it. You know what I'm saying? Like, people were getting miscategorized and assessed in the school system as being special education. You had really cool dudes that were riding the yellow bus, and they were smart. You know what I mean? They selling drugs on the street. They were smart. But now that cool dude is the coolest kid in class, and maybe he might get out of the yellow bus and just go dumb, whatever, and however that manifests. Now, I'm not explaining the hyphy movement. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of there was a lot of like attack around the world on like black kids with white teachers that wanted black kids to behave a certain way in order to be categorized as smart. And we could mix that in with like what they had going on at home, but all of that kind of comes from a lot of like suppression. You come from the Black Panther, the Black Panther days where people had the gun laws were homogenous, like how it is in the South, open carry or whatever, and that being taken away from us, along with this police brutality. You could go, the bar stage, you go whatever, but going dumb is like kind of like almost a rebellious thing. So because that was such a rebellious thing, and mixed in with a whole bunch of other social dynamics, it still kind of comes from that place, but it was taken more of a lighthearted, like jokey, I'm just turning up. But I feel like that culture still needs to be there, but we have to also speak to the more grown up adult. Like, how are the artists growing as artists and on their personal level? No different than J. Cole being who he was to now. You know what I mean? No different than if you look at, let's say you look at Mac Dre, even if he did kind of get more and more, his style got more and more flamboyant, he still had a particular style that was really calm, cool, and like, he wasn't, he didn't have a lot. He was just like really like, and it changed. These artists aren't changing because they still have their core crowd that is younger, that crowd that is in high school, and they want to wear the same color clothes, the same, and they have that, you might get occasional cult followings like Larry and other people that have their own like message because they have that it factor as well. But essentially, when it comes to other people listening to the Bay Area, they still, when I play their music, I'm just saying, as you play the music, it doesn't cross over well because we have a way of speaking, we have a way of life, we have, when I say a way of life, we have a pimp hoe culture out here. Because if you look at the personas of most of the artists that have gone the distance, E40, Too Short, Mac Dre, anyone that has gone there, they are dressed as a pimp. They're dressed as pimps. They're speaking to the story and the lifestyle of a pimp. They're speaking to that. Like, that is the element, that is the energy that they're coming from. A Bay Area pimp. Not talking about a Detroit pimp. Not talking about a Memphis pimp. Not talking about an Atlanta pimp. Pimp C would be considered a pimp in his own space, but he wouldn't be able to. He wouldn't be able to like be a Bay Area. Not saying he wouldn't be able to be a Bay Area pimp, but it's like there's a different way of speaking, right? So a lot of the songs, when they're talking about how they, they're coming from that perspective. Now, because in the feminist perspective, we're listening to the story of a stripper. We're listening to the story of prostitutes. You know what I'm saying? Where you got
Yeah.
Sexy Red or whatever, we're listening to that story. But it's still a story that later on when the trend comes or goes,
Yeah.
we will be able to be like, whoa, that was the perspective from a woman's perspective, how she identifies or sees the world,
Yeah.
whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
And that's music right there, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So how does that shape the music scene? And how does, you know, I know I
Yeah.
brought everybody around the world to kind of, how does that shape the music scene? It's relative.
Yeah.
You won't know unless you came. And if you're not here, you kind of, it's just kind of like over your head,
Yeah.
too much to digest, change the song, not really sure, like this is kind of weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Little stuff. So
Alright.
that was a lot.
No, that was good.
Oh, that was good. Yeah.
Very comprehensive.
My perspective. That's all. Like again, I could be, someone could listen to this and completely disagree, but that's kind of how I.
Yeah. We're talking to you, no one else, right? So.
Hey, people, you know, we know what era we live in.
Yeah.
Your voice, your choice. No.
Mm.
What do you think outsiders get wrong about Oakland? I feel like a lot of that you just covered, but
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to touch on anything more, and then how would you describe the city to someone who's never been here, and what would you change about Oakland?
Yeah. And this doesn't even have to be like, you know, from your art. Like this could you're born and raised here, right? So like you also this is you, right? So
you said how?
Yeah. What do you think outsiders get wrong about Oakland?
Yeah.
How would you describe the city to someone who's never been here, never visited? And what would you change about Oakland, if anything?
Okay. What do I think outsiders get wrong about Oakland? I definitely think the Gotham City.
Like desolate.
Yeah, the Gotham City, desolate. You know, kind of like this energy of like where dreams die kind of vibe.
yeah.
Persona is definitely. I wouldn't say that they're. I'm not gonna gaslight people and say that it doesn't have that element too, depending on what's going on. Because when you get in trouble out here, when you get in trouble in the Bay Area, you really got you're really in everybody's business.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's gay, if some stuff happened to you in the Bay Area, that means you was a problem where you came from. You were a problem in Atlanta, you're a problem in the Bay.
Yeah.
It's not one of those places where you can just go and be when you come here, you got to be a different person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I would say that it's not as random crime. You know what I'm saying? It can be random crime because of whatever laws that are in place. Like when they say you can steal so much, like everything is like logic. Like they say you can steal so much up to like anything less than 1,000 isn't a felony. So yeah, people are going to be breaking into Bloomingdale's and doing all this other kind of stuff. These are kids. They're coming off of COVID. Like make like logically, like we don't got to wait for a documentary to come out 10 years later to explain the times for you to be like, whoa, that's why Oakland was like that. Oh, that's why San Francisco was like that. So I would say the thing that people get wrong is that, oh, I hear it's really, really dangerous. Oh, I hear that it's boring. There's really nothing to really do. And oh, I hear, you know, they said the food was like this. Oh, I said, there are things to do. There are nice, elegant places to go to. People are a lot more polite here in some cases.
Yeah, more polite than San Francisco.
More polite. The weather here, it may have its bipolar qualities, but there is a limitation on how cold it gets.
Mind you, this is end of November weather that we're.
We do have, as you can see, Indian summer.
Yeah.
Now we're past it.
I was about to be like, what'd you say? What'd you call me?
Yeah, we do what they call Indian summer, right? Where like October will be kind of like the hottest month, but. You know, all in all, it all depends again on like what you are looking for, and what you think is popping. So as far as the status quo, I'd say like, yeah, it's one of those places where, you know, you just kind of come with an open mind, but don't expect much. And as far as like fun and entertainment, it's almost like a generational thing we're going through right now.
Yeah.
The culture is different. I would say that. Yeah. What's the next question in that question?
Yeah. How would you describe the city to someone who's never been here? Was that your description?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. My description to the city that someone's never been here, depending on what they want to know. You know what I mean? If you ask me something on a party tip, it's gonna be different. You ask me something on a living tip, it's gonna be a little different.
Let's take it from a standpoint of what is it like to live here?
What it's like to live in the Bay, and mind you, see how I like look around because I want to really give you like a perspective. What it's like to live in the Bay Area.
You just Oakland, really. Because, like,
Yeah.
you know, if you think about it, like, we're looking at San Francisco just
It's
right
true.
there, and it's so different, you know? So,
Kind of low key is. I would say,
yeah.
like, if you live in Oakland, then you have a lot more. You got a lot more space.
Yes.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, you live in Oakland, then you can kind of hear yourself think a little bit,
Yeah.
and you're not gonna walk down the street and actually bump into anybody. Now, San Francisco is not as dense as it used to be, but you can kind of like go by the lake or kind of walk and clear your mind and maybe get some quiet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Oakland has a little bit of a more communal family orientation to it, to where you might see that same person twice. You might see that same person 3 times.
Yeah.
You might get used to seeing that person every week. You know what I mean? It's not that kind of city where, you know, a person will come to you like Los Angeles and be like, I'm here for the weekend.
Yeah.
People will be here for that whole internship. And if they here in November, their internship might be done in August.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I would say Oakland is very like family, it's very family oriented, and you
Yeah.
might see, if you know, you might see people multiple times. So people be on their best behavior. They're not as like out of, I don't want to say out of pocket because some people don't know out of pocket. They may not they may not be as, they're not that rude because
Yeah.
their paths might cross again.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people from Oakland aren't really from Oakland when you meet them. So you might get someone that's giving you Atlanta energy, Chicago energy, New York energy. So there's no
Yeah.
real place to place it. Now, San Francisco, on the other hand, same thing, but at the same time, a lot of those people, especially if they're part of the homeless community, from Oakland to San Francisco, are not from Oakland.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
rule number 1, when you go to LA, even, and you go to Skid Row, those people are not from
Yeah.
Cali. They came out here probably on a Greyhound from New York, Chicago, somewhere
Yeah.
cold, because since the 70s, they've been sending like
Yeah.
homeless people to this side and that side of California to keep them from freezing to death, or else they'll be shoveling a whole bunch of bodies off the pavement.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just because you got a homeless shelter don't mean everybody gonna get there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's another thing. And then when you're in the city, it's louder. You know what I mean? You're hearing people outside. You know, you're hearing, I could see the Gotham City perspective if you're in a hotel out there or something like that.
Yeah.
You got got
The
mentally
tender
ill
one, yeah.
people yelling. You know, it's stuff like that. But it's beautiful. It's a beautiful city. They got a lot of great, we have the best Chinese food, just Asian food in general
Yeah.
out here compared to like some people argue Latin food is better in LA. I think honestly it's a California thing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? As far as style, if you really want to embody your own style and really like
That's
figure
good.
out how you want to dress, you hit up maybe Haight Street, you know what I mean, and really kind of like get into your thrift bag. Now thrifting has become more mainstream
Yeah.
now, but
It's cool to thrift now.
yeah, you know,
Yeah.
this is you got to understand where you at. Like this is the hippie
Yeah.
era. Motherfuckers used to hitchhike back in the day. You remember you watched Forrest Gump? They was coming to San Francisco. You know what I
haven't seen
mean?
That movie.
You never. Okay.
Yeah, like you know, you got festivals. The festival
Yeah.
when you got Rolling Loud.
After Vietnam,
Yeah.
they took a lot of the soldiers to San Francisco as one of the first places they go when they get back from the war.
Boom.
Yeah.
And then they get dispersed to their respective homes.
Mhm.
And a lot of them got into like drugs, psychedelics,
Mhm.
marijuana,
Mhm.
whole thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cultural. It's rich in cultural history here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And being here also can teach you the game. Like Tupac said, he said he knew about whatever, but when he got to Oakland, he learned the game.
Yeah.
You learn kind of how to really make your way in whatever you're doing, because you get to entertain so many different circles and crowds because we're progressive, right? And I always say the word progressive because it doesn't really mean anything good and it doesn't really mean anything bad.
Yeah.
You know, depending. You know, you can be progressively worse.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that it's not as racist. It is race. It can be racist in the Bay.
Yeah.
Some people think because it's California and the Bay Area, we're forward thinking, but you go to Piedmont and you won't even think you're in Oakland. You know what I mean? They got their own segregated space where it's like Piedmont Fire Department, Piedmont Police Station.
Yeah. Last question. Not the last question altogether, but the last part of this question. What would you change about Oakland? If anything. I
would say, and this is from the perspective of growing up out here. That's the only perspective from growing up out here. Oakland, compared to 90s, well, okay, pre-tech. Now,
I love that he's born here so he can speak to these like different eras.
Thank you. Tech has been a blessing and a curse, and it's not the people who work in tech's fault. It's not the people who created anything along the lines of technology. It's not their fault, because in this life, the gateway to hell is always paved with good intention.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You start off with an idea, and then you might create a new monster. You know what I'm saying? But I will say the Bay Area has changed to a university campus.
Oh, that's an interesting perspective.
A university campus. We have to understand that like tech, especially when it comes to social aspect of tech, where it's like texting, when it comes to iPhone, comes to social media, Facebook. These guys were like not even 21 when they came up with these concepts and the framework of these apps. The framework of our social vernacular is in the framework of 17, 18-year-old kid.
Yeah.
So we 35 years old, 27, 26, still talking about WTF, LOL. Back in the day, when a person grew up, the way they spoke changed.
Yeah.
The way they dated you changed. They didn't say, come over and chill. They came to your crib with some flowers, car running, ready to go.
Yeah, walk up, yeah.
There was a difference. So because we're still in that framework, and when you go to, if you've actually been to Facebook headquarters, it looks like a university. Yeah. Go in there as university. They even got ping pong table up there. They play, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's stimulation. It keeps you in that creative space, right? So now, translate that to outside of work. When the people go out, it's like break. It's like recess.
Yeah.
People go to sleep. They go to sleep on time because they got class in the morning, aka work. They may not even leave the bed. They just get on a computer. You know what I mean?
No.
This is a university. Like, this is a framework of a university. People ask you, what do you do? Because they're trying to get closer to whatever they're trying to get. They're trying to get into a new bag. It's like you're living in LinkedIn. You know what I mean? Here. Right? And that's what it didn't. That's what it did. That's what it didn't used to be like that. It used to be that motherfuckers worked where they worked and they did what they did, and when they partied, they partied without feeling like it's gonna take away from their professionalism.
Yeah.
Now motherfuckers think that if I go too hard or I turn up like this, I'm gonna look like this, and people aren't gonna take me seriously. And that's what my biggest gripe was when we went to Afrotech last week.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not professional. The lines are long.
Yeah.
People just want to hook up. People just want to. It's not a real conference. But in my opinion, again, just like I said about the hyphy movement, everything we do as people of color or black people is an expression of oppression.
Yeah.
We are oppressed in the spaces where it's dominated by everything else.
Yeah.
And when we turn up and have a drink or talk about the music we like or talk about that movie we watched, that coworker is judging the shit out of you.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, the next day you go to work, maybe now the microaggressions, people are quiet in the group, in the face, they acting weird around you.
Yeah.
And I only know this because during COVID, I was DJing for a lot of companies on, when you're doing the Zoom call, the virtual stuff, and I see people that I really know outside of work, and they're not saying nothing, and they're just like, you know what I mean? So if I know that that's how this person got to live his life, then I know that is the person. So basically, when you party at Afrotech, it's not taken away from your professionalism.
Yeah.
You can network in peace, and it's not as transactional.
Yeah.
You might be that person's friend, and they might quit that job at Airbnb. They might quit that job at YouTube, and maybe they work at maybe Spotify or something like that. And maybe now there's some connection between you and Spotify. But you didn't go and say, you didn't call them the next week like, hey, what's up with that job? Y'all hiring? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'd say like Oakland, what I would change about Oakland is getting back to this, and it may be wishful thinking, right? Getting back to the aspect of being a lot more personable and kind of people getting over it, like people that are not from here, getting over this ego that they know more than the people that are here and that they're better than the people that are here, and get over the classism thing. Yeah. Because now that we know that you got to have money to really like do something out here, people tend to like kind of judge people. There's like, now there's this alienated group of people that are in tech that think in their mind that they have a better crowd of people, that they have a more cooler or a more sensible crowd of people. Now, that's always been a dynamic amongst the black community, where you have the black bourgeoisie people, and you have the low country people or local people. That's always going to be a thing. That's not just a Bay Area thing, but as far as like the transplant thing, it's like I don't see people connect the way that they used to connect. Yeah. Where everybody was just like.
That's an interesting point. You spoke about being really connected to trap art earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So trap art is now doing this new concept where they have tech talks. So they'll have vendors and they'll have artists, and they'll be, presenting their art with the intent to sell. They'll also have a panel of folks from like LinkedIn, Google, et cetera, and they'll have networking opportunities. So there'll be recruiters from respective companies. And I just talked to someone the other day about the dynamics. We both agreed that the tech folks were mostly like amongst themselves, and the art people were mostly amongst themselves. The people who came there with the intent to hear the panelists and to get a new job, they didn't really have intentions of talking to the artists, buying lighters, stickers, magnets, whatever they were selling, buying a painting. That was not a concern of theirs. And the people who were artists mostly mingled amongst themselves, and there was not really this kind of sense of coming together or connection or community. And for me, like, I feel like I'm a chameleon. Like, I do work in tech, so I talked to some of those folks. I knew them from other spaces. I said hello or whatever. But I also wanted to talk to all the artists, learn about their art. I bought a piece or, whatever. And I feel like that's being lost. Like, people are like, this is my group. This group kind of gives me my sense of importance. They kind of shape how other people perceive me. And that's what I'm going to stick to. Do you feel like that's the same, or what is your perspective on that?
I definitely think that there is some separatism in those different sectors, and it kind of boils a little bit back to kind of what I said earlier between like the dynamic of LA and the Bay. You have artists that have more of an extroverted expression, so they have a disposition of being expressive emotionally. And then you have the tech industry that doesn't too much really require that emotional, that emotional competency. So they practice on a regular basis being reserved, and a lot of the times the disconnect is kind of like a little bit through ignorance. Like some people would like. I remember someone used to. I remember somebody used to tell me like, being in corp, yeah, it's creeping in. The Bay Area, it's get used to it. You creep. Okay. It has this energy of like, or someone used to tell me like, oh, tech, you have to speak a certain language.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We got to. I mean corporate.
Mm-hmm. Can you pass me my jacket?
You know what I mean? You mean corporate? Because they see that there's an artistic aspect. There's an artist. Sometimes some people will view you as an artist, or view you, and they'll assume that maybe. Comfortable. Keeping it cozy. You know what I mean? People assume people. Again, so you'll have again, like, it goes back to that dynamic you explained.
Mm-hmm.
That is on a constant. That's constantly happening.
Yeah.
Constantly happening.
Yeah.
It's very cliquey, and naturally the Bay Area has a artistic space. Like I said, this is the hippie environment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And someone say hippie, tree hugger, whatever, but at the same time, there is a lot of artistic value. So those groups, would I say I see that? I do definitely see that, but I think like people that are in that kind of space, as far as like what they're used to in the tech field or what they're used to from their crowds, they digest art in their own way. And I'm not like even discredit. I'm not trying to say that like the people that are in tech are on like a robotic space. Cause I can be in tech tomorrow. You know what I mean? It's more like, okay, let's say I'm someone that likes to, like, I'm really into math.
Yeah.
I might find beauty in calculus. Mm-hmm. I used to call calculus beautiful math compared to like trigonometry or compared to any other kind of like sector of mathematics. Someone else would literally look at it and be like, I hate math. What the fuck? How can you see anything beautiful in this?
Yeah, sure.
Someone could be into like biology and find some level of relation to someone else that's into like the sciences. So it's almost like they'll geek out on whatever they want to geek out, and the artists will geek out on whatever they want to geek out. And it's kind of like, it depends what you're into. You're either into Marvel or you're into anime, and you find your own like section on that. But I think that it's like, the thing that's insulting to artists from the tech industry sometimes is the underestimation. Don't assume that you're going over my head just because you're in an industry that you think is more prestigious.
Yeah.
Because if we flip this, because you see a lot of these tech motherfuckers are trying to be DJs now.
Yeah.
A lot of these motherfuckers trying to throw parties now.
Yeah.
A lot of these motherfuckers trying to act like they got a social life. And I'll tell you right now, how I can tell how someone had a social life based on how they treat their adult social life.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? They did not have a social life in college. They did not have a social life like that in high school. And they're trying to catch it up in their 20s, late 20s and 30s, and it's looking cringy. When you really was that person, it's smooth, it's easy, it's in you, not on you. And artists just have that because they have that attachment style that precedes that. You get what I'm saying? So that's what I'll say is like, you're mixing like a very sensitive person mixed with a very avoidant person, and sometimes they attach to each other and there's a bond, but a lot of the times the appeal is a little different. So when they do come to that panel, which I think is still good to constantly do that because it's a learning process, the disconnect might happen because both parties are kind of afraid to appeal. You don't want to come into space and feel like you're plain Jane and be in, it'll promote and bring that insecurity out of you, like, this person's pretty interesting. I feel kind of boring. So I'm going to talk to this person because I'm kind of more interested in this person, or I can kind of I can kind of appeal to this person. They'll be like interested. Yeah. And then you have the artist who's like, they're pretty like, they seem very like responsible.
Mm-hmm.
and I think I'm a creative slop.
I'm gonna go
and talk to this person that's really colorful. I love the way they dress. I love I can see art in that, and they might find interest in my personality.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's a psychological thing.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, I'm not saying tech people are bad, evil, heartless robots, and I'm not saying that the artist people are bad, extroverts and you know, I'm not emotional crybabies. No, I'm not saying anything about that. I'm just saying that these are two different kinds of personality temperaments, and sometimes they don't know how to communicate, right?
Sounds like you're giving
I'd be like,
advice.
I'd be too. Oh man, right? Right. I'm glad you. Yeah. Oh, I didn't even know y'all picked up. No, I mean, some people don't know about that. You know?
No, no, trust me, because you know how actually when you were talking about like, oh, back in the day, like the car was running, you used to walk up with the flowers, you know.
Chivalrous.
Now it's like,
Where's
oh,
that?
yeah. What are your love languages? What's your attachment style? What's your rising and this and that? You know, it's like you're trying to figure me out with these questions. Just get to know who I am.
A lot of groupthink.
Yeah.
A lot of people are getting raised by the internet.
Yeah, that part.
You know.
This is our final question before we get into the rapid fire. But what role do you think artists, musicians, DJs like yourself play in preserving Oakland's identity?
What role? Oof. What role do I think they play? I think they play a very, very, very important role in preserving the Bay Area. If we're speaking about the Bay Area specifically or any other place, they play a very important role in that preservation, just based off of being able to communicate that story, and also lead us in a different direction.
Yeah.
Lead us in a more progressive direction. So I say the role is very important.
I think one thing I would say is like I feel like anytime I've met someone, not just the Bay or like like obviously we're talking about Oakland specific, but everyone's always so proud. You know what I mean? Like regardless of wherever they go. Like I remember when I used to live in LA, obviously anytime Tell Me When to Go would come on, like I usually don't dance, but anytime that song would play, I had to get up in there, I had to let them know where I'm from, and it's like without saying too much. So I do feel like a lot of people preserve at least like the identity by just being proud of where they come from, where they're raised, and things like that.
I feel like that sometimes that like what you said too, that for most people, right? I feel like people, as they stray away from where they're from, they get more proud. When they're in it, they're like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like Nigerians like Nigeria a lot more when they're out of Nigeria than when they're in Nigeria. When they're in Nigeria, they're you know what I mean? So when I'm in, for me too, because man, I might be desensitized, or because of this is all relative experience.
Yeah.
I love Bay Area music. I love how people I love more about how people respond to Bay Area music.
Yeah.
Like the Bay Area is one of those places, kind of like almost like New Orleans. Like New Orleans had a flood, but when those people left, they're still New Orleans. New Orleans is less about the place and more about the people.
Yeah.
The Bay Area, it's not this bay that's behind me that makes the Bay. Sorry, that makes the Bay Area. That makes Bay Area Bay Area. It is the people that make the Bay Area the Bay Area. Yeah. So it's a pride, but it is like when I could play a song that I may not really jive with.
Yeah.
Like there's some songs like if I don't really get because again we were talking about boxes. I'm fitting this Afrobeat box. Like some people listening to this will really be like, huh? All this time I thought Jeff was from Nigeria.
Low key.
I thought just like Davido.
Are you first gen? Or?
I'm a first gen. Yeah, I thought like just like Davido, right? He put the song "If." He came out. He's got like a couple songs with Chris Brown.
Yeah.
And they were like they thought he was born in Nigeria. He's born in Atlanta, and his other kids, all his kids are born in Atlanta too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? His mom and dad went to Atlanta colleges. So you have a lot more. There's a lot more that kind of like meets the eye when it comes to what what type of people a place produces. But for me, because I was born here, I can hear a song and I'll play a song and people like again categorize me in the Afrobeat thing. But when I do get the opportunity to play Bay Area music for a Bay Area crowd, right? It ain't even. I'm not playing the straight mainstream Afrobeat song. I'm playing the stuff that's like really like the newer gen, the next gen of Afrobeat. See, I'm even doing that. The next gen of like Bay Area artists, a little bit with some Detroit music. You know what I'm saying? And the response to that is the response, whether it just be twerking or whether it be turning or knowing or singing.
Rap or Detroit house?
Detroit rap.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll sing the words word for word and da 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 da, depending on your relevancy to it. But if you play that for another crowd, they're not really gonna understand or they're not gonna know how to respond to it. Yeah. So for me, if I hear a Bay Area song in another place, it's not gonna do nothing for me. I'm gonna want them to turn it off because their response is not doing the song justice. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Their response is not doing the song justice. Turn the Mac Dre off. Don't play. You know, the only thing people know how to respond to universally is blow the whistle. But don't play it if people are not gonna respond. It's kind of like you got a meme that really made you laugh, and you really, really felt the meme, and you show it to your partner, and he's like, I'm like, I ain't showing you no more memes, man. You killing my vibe. This is my shit.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, it's the people. It's really the people that do that.
Now we'll get into our rapid fire round.
What's your favorite coffee shop, restaurant, deli that's based in Oakland? Or something else. Just a favorite gym of yours where you grab a bite, where you grab some beverage.
Places you frequent at. Places you would recommend to someone that's like visiting Oakland. None of that key.
Okay.
Well, if it's his favorite, hopefully you recommend it to us.
Right.
Yeah. I don't gonna lie, bro. I don't want to the reason why I do want to recommend my spots,
don't gatekeep.
Nah, I'm gonna tell you, I be trying to avoid people all the time. I be trying to avoid people. So
say some spots you don't go to very often, but you like. There we go.
Actually, flip the question. Places you hate. No, I'm kidding.
So okay, all right. I'll say if I'm gonna recommend, and going to these places are for different things, right? All right. Because I like these places because a lot of people don't be there. So if I say it and it go crazy and go viral, I'm gonna be mad at you too. But whatever. So places I like to go if I want to get coffee and chill, I would for sure, and I would recommend to someone if they want to go out and be around people. Sometimes people give people energy. Yeah. Like sometimes people like to be in this place that give people energy. So I would say Kinfolk.
I knew you were gonna say that.
You know I was gonna say that because that's the mainstream and the most. Yeah. It's very like it just speaks to a transplant's heart. Yeah. You know what I mean? So they're gonna go. And it gives.
He's telling me all the places he doesn't frequent. I already know.
No. But I've gone before, you know.
Right. No, I know.
As you like it.
It gives like a library / coffee shop of a college. Again, you're gonna see after I tell you that this place is a university, you're not gonna unsee it. No. Everyone's gonna move like they're in school. Everyone's gonna act like they're in school. It's very studious because it's a university. Like I said, this camp right now. We're on winter. We're on a little bit of a winter Thanksgiving break right now, right? For me, I recommend getting an Oak Stop. An Oak Stop subscription. Is that what you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, get an Oak Stop subscription. You can go in there, chill, get you. I go right. I went on Broadway. Yeah. And then if anyone was to ask me about the Bay Area, for sure, being from here, a lot of people that don't really take advantage of the views.
Yeah.
The views. Figure out where you can go. Go to the highest place you can go in the Bay Area. Go to Grizzly Peak. Go to
what you know about Fish Ranch?
Fish Ranch. Go to Piedmont Cemetery. Has a humongous view. You know what I'm saying? Go to the views. Everyone thinks about the hikes. Cool, hikes are great, but go to the view. We have
coffee, we have food.
dance
we have co-working spaces.
Co-working spaces.
Wait, what was the coffee?
It was
Kinfolks.
Oh, okay.
Or wine, however categorizing it.
What is that? What is that spot?
There. Are you talking about Ordinaire?
Ordinaire.
Yeah.
Ordinaire. Great wine spot. Real chill. Real low key. Again, you want chill. Like, I think in other places where it's really, really, really like intensely black, they want to distract people. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these places are distracting. And a lot of these places are fun.
Houston is fun.
It's fun, right? But sometimes that fun can be distracting. Sometimes there's a lot of fun. As I get older, I try to play around with boredom. I try to say, like, how much fun can I have being bored? When you go to these places, you can kind of have like a real conversation, or you can kind of really be to yourself and think, because the Bay Area can promote that. Some people come all the way out here for Napa. The other spot I was gonna say.
You asked about the winery.
Yeah, the winery.
We have Kinfolks. Ordinaire. Oak Stop.
Okay, so Oak Stop, and what's a Korean spot?
Dansung or something like that.
Dansung.
Something like that.
Kimp, and you got Kinfolk, and then you got going to views. Going to the views.
Final question though. This is my favorite, and I feel like every time we ask this, there's like the same undertone. So I'm curious to see what you're gonna say. But if you had to describe Oakland in just 3 words, what would those words be?
Unique, loyal, and kind.
There you have it, folks. Yay! Thank you so much for taking time. Yeah.